Silas, an absolute bucket, Hall of Famer, father of Rockets coach Stephen Silas, has passed away. He's passed away this week, the age of 79. A little too young. There's been a bunch of great retrospectives out there, think pieces. Google them, because Silas was an absolute bucket as a player. Definitely deserving of the Hall of Fame. But for me, the thing that's the most interesting about Mr. Silas is he was a cold-ass motherfucker. He was stone cold. He took shit from absolutely nobody. No one. And I could not love it more. I love old people that don't take shit. Like, I love them. Like, hard rock old folks that's like, yo, I will beat the shit out of you if you wreck on me. That's him. There are endless anecdotes about Silas's warm nature, but underneath him, stone cold killer. Maurice Lucas said the first time he played against Silas as a player, he's like, yeah, I line up beside Silas at the start of the game. He barely speaks to me. The ref tosses the ball up, and Silas elbows me in the face, knocks me out. That established how I would eventually play. Whew, that's like hockey out there. The demeanor also carries over to the coaching career, which I think is amazing. According to reports, Silas once benched Eric Snow when he didn't come off the court fast enough, which is an amazing reason to bench a player. And then he banishes him to the locker room. Here's another good one. While coaching the Cavs, Silas gets into it with forward Ira Newby, a former Hawk. He wanted to play against his old team in Atlanta, but did not see the court at all. Paul Silas was like, absolutely not. So Newby comes after Silas, right? And the altercation ends with Silas chasing Newby down the hall while screaming at Newby that he was a hip-hop motherfucker. Finally, the best one. Talking about Charlotte. He was coaching Charlotte in 2012. So he gets into it with Bobcats player, they're the Bobcats at the time, Ty Thomas. Pins this dude up against a locker. Why? What did he do that was so egregious, you might ask? He was too friendly to the opposing team after a loss. Did I mention Silas was 68 at the time? Do you know how cold and mean and ruthless you have to be to pin a young man up that you are coaching up against a locker at 68 years old for something just kind of normal about the NBA? Insane. Another time, while coaching in Charlotte, 7-foot center Desagana Diop dropped the N-word in practice. Silas immediately stopped practice. And remember, Diop is from Senegal and West Africa, excuse me. So English was like his second language. And he says, I used the N-word when I was at school at Oak Hill Academy, but I didn't really know the meaning behind it. And Coach Silas went on to tell me the history, the ugliness of the word, and how it affected him while growing up. Big shout out to Paul Silas. What a interesting collection of anecdotes. And what I loved about all the anecdotes, Newby, Thomas, Diop, they all loved him. They weren't wrecking his name when they told these stories. They were friendly with him. They were tight with him. Newby said he's one of the coaches I treasure and I appreciate playing for the most. The guy who called him the hip-hop motherfucker and chased him down the hall. That's like one of his favorite coaches. Like, imagine being chased by an irate coach. And it's like, yeah, that's the best coach I've ever played for. He must have been awesome in other ways. His legacy lives on. Following the Rockets' recent victory over the Suns, Monty Williams embraced Stephen Silas, which, by the way, you had to know that the Rockets were going to win that game. You had to know the Rockets were going to really show out for their coach. So he had just come back from a one-game bereavement leave. And on the verge of breaking down, Monty held his embrace, and Silas just melted into his arms. Nothing would have made Paul Silas more proud of Monty and Stephen than that. So R.I.P. to an NBA legend.